All right, everybody, welcome to this Sunday stream. Another crypto artist spotlight we're having on Somnium Web. And today we are on a parcel 3082, which is a beautiful gallery. Let me zoom out a little bit and show you this beauty. Have a look at that. And we are having as our guest artist Marco, with a Twitter nickname Visionis, if I'm writing it correctly. If not, Marco, you will correct me, I'm pretty sure, or Visionis. But yeah, welcome, Marco.
Yeah, it's visions in Spanish, basically.
Okay, visions in Spanish. All right, awesome. So welcome, Marco. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Natural, for helping to organize this and putting this together. This gallery is fantastic. And yeah, Marco. Could you meet yourself in meanwhile? I'll do a small intro while
Sure.
I'll guide people into what to do. So today we'll be talking about Marco's journey into crypto art. We'll be looking at some art in the gallery, and we'll be taking some questions from the audience. So of course, if you're just tuned into this place, feel free to mute your microphone, please, before we open the topics for discussion. And yeah, let's dive into it. I guess as always, the first question would be, how did you get started in the crypto art scene? What was the first time you discovered this space, and what's your kind of art journey?
Sure. It's an interesting story, I think. It was around late 2019 that I got a comment on a picture on Instagram saying this belongs on Super Rare. And at the time, I knew nothing about crypto art. So I kind of looked around and was like, what is this? And educated myself and was like blown away by what I discovered, basically. It's a whole new community, mind-blowing art. I mean, and so I applied to Super Rare. Took some time, and then I got a response and got accepted, got whitelisted, or got the initial email, and was like, okay, what is this? And sort of learned everything else about making your wallets, MetaMask, and all that stuff. And somewhere around, I think it was mid-December 2019, I tokenized my first piece, and basically since then, I've just been learning and rediscovering everything.
All right, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So by the way, it's an interesting question when people some people say, yeah, it's hard for, like, let's call them normal people to start and go into crypto. It's hard to learn all those wallets and seed phrases and things. How have been your journey? Did you find it like intimidating, or was it fine and you got used to it within a week? What was your impression?
Me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. For me, I had a somewhat of a tech background, so I picked it up fairly fast, got to understand how it works. So I couldn't say being someone, I just didn't know much about crypto and that stuff. But yeah, I would say I picked it up quite fast.
Got it. So what happened to the first piece when you tokenized, and what was your, it's like this journey of you, and you're tokenizing it, is there, and you're waiting, watching how it's going to be sold. Like, can you a little bit tell us about that moment or those moments?
Sure. I didn't know what to make of it. Basically, I got an offer, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, let's see what happens." So I accepted, and
Do you remember the offer, the amount?
I think it was like zero point 0.6 or so.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very low, and I mostly like the idea of it, of being collected, of having my work appreciated,
Yeah.
and so it wasn't really about the money. It was more like, cool, somebody appreciates this stuff. They want to have this in their collection.
Got it. Got it.
And for a long time, I I made digital art and I printed it, and once in a while I would sell print here and there, but I didn't really know how to promote myself or how to put my work out there.
Okay. Yeah, understood. So kind of like you find the place where you felt like it's the place for you where you could promote and do other things. So it's kind of like as I'm here, what I'm hearing is like it all came together in this crypto space, right?
Yes.
Cool. And I just want to ask a question because I hear. Oh, you're echoing. Yeah, thank you. So I'm hearing sometimes, different discussions about how important and what do you take of the decentralization part of the thing. And of course, the big discussions about where the media is stored, how it is going to be preserved, what is the decentralization part of the token itself, of the metadata, of the image itself, and things like that. Now, we do understand that, let's call the if you mint it on Ethereum, and the metadata are fully decentralized, let's call them fully decentralized, but the image itself is not. So what is your take on that? Like, how do you look at this? Is it super important for you that it's fully decentralized, or you say, hey, I don't care on which blockchain network it is, even if it's on level 2, less decentralized, but hey, who cares? It's a token, it's verifiable. I'm fine with that. Where on this spectrum are you?
Yeah, I'm totally for decentralization.
Cool.
I think even the aesthetic of my work are in a decentralized, ideally a decentralized place.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, it's so how do you what do you make of, like, how do you store your image, like images and your work, your media files, in terms of on your own artwork? Like, do you look at it carefully and you try to find the best solution, or you just go with the flow and what the platform offers, like super rare and no origin and stuff? We don't hear you.
I'm sorry, I don't quite understand that question. So, meaning like how I handle my own images, like the way
Correct.
when I produce an image.
Exactly. When you produce a token, when you produce an image, when the art, how do you look at, how do you store it? Like, what do you choose to store it? Do you dig into it deeper, or you just go with what platforms are offering to do? Like, if you just basically you can throw it on IPFS and that's it, or you go deeper and research deeper into that. Just interesting question.
I see. Interesting question. I mean, I'm on a few platforms, so I would say, depending on the image itself, I consider where I want to have it. I'm sorry, I'm kind of stuck with that question.
No worries. I will explain what I mean. It's like when there was a big discussion about like what happens if like the Beeple piece, right? If the image, if the server where the image is stored is not available anymore, and then the image itself is not available anymore. So you basically have a token which has a call to a server which doesn't exist. So the token cannot load the image anymore. And even on IPFS that can happen if not enough people are storing it on the computers, and the image could be lost. So the question, of course, is like, what's the most important? Is like the metadata of the image or the image itself, and things like that. So I find it fascinating to kind of discuss that because you can't store art in a format which everybody have or majority of artists have on Ethereum blockchain itself. But we all want decentralization, right? So that's always a big balance between those two things. That's what I just wanted to elaborate on. But let's move then further. So you sold your first piece at 0.6. You were amazed by someone collecting your art. What are your next steps? Like, what is it? You're like, oh my god, okay, now let me create more. Let me try to talk about something more. Or like, did you connect with that collector? Did you talk to the person who bought it, or it was an anonymous guy or a girl, and you just continued to tokenize other pieces? What was your journey next?
Sure. Well, I had at that point sort of gotten a grasp of the whole thing, so I was very new, and I was like, interesting. So I could put this out there, and it could be in this. Like I said, I was very new to it. I could have my work on this ledger, and I had these works that I felt like needed a home, a very special place. Right. And so from then on, I was sitting on all these images, but started very slowly sort of deciding which one could go there, which one could go next. And I would say the first collector, we didn't really stay in touch, or we somewhat did. But then I started making relationships with other collectors, and some that were more constantly wanting to buy my work and sort of giving me feedback and sort of going from that as well.
Okay, cool. So it's interesting. So you are in contact with collectors, and they give you feedback. So that is another interesting topic of how do you communicate generally with collectors in terms of like how I try to phrase the question, how closely to your heart you take the feedback from the collectors, meaning if the collector, like, is it important what collector thinks? Does it actually influence your art direction? Does it influence your pricing strategies? Things like this, because this is a very interesting topic always, and every artist have a different answer and opinion on that. So if you could say a few words about how you generally like communicate with your collectors, that would be very fantastic and interesting to hear.
Hello. Yeah. I was hearing a weird echo. Okay. It really is more, I suppose, somewhat positive feedback, but I wouldn't say that influences what I decide to put out there next necessarily. It's more like a sort of I give more context, maybe more of a backstory on my work that I usually don't share when I initially tokenize work.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like more insiders info in terms of like in a good way that it's so you give more context and more info about the art. It's kind of like a sneak preview or like unlocked content. Let's call it like this: unlocked additional content.
Yeah, or a backstory.
Okay, cool. That's interesting. Okay, I mean, it's the world of crypto art is fascinating, and I think what do you make of the latest, let's call the last 3 months craze of NFTs and the influx of artists? Do you think it's harder now to become more recognizable for artists who are coming, or it didn't change the dynamic at all, and anyone has the same shot as they had like half a year ago? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that it's still very new thing. Sure, there's a lot of hype, and I don't really know where it's going to go. Really, I hear lots of different opinions, and I myself think it's still a good outlet for exposure. And what will happen is that everything that comes out that is not meant to be appreciated will eventually filter out. And I still see a lot of really great artists putting work out there. So I don't see that coming to a stop anytime soon. Mm-hmm. I think there are a lot of people coming in who want to make some money from it. I see that. And that could cause a lot of traffic and a lot of mediocrity.
Okay. And do you see the lot of new celebrity, tokenization efforts? Do you see that as a positive positive thing, or do you see that as a little bit of a like a stunt and money grab stuff? Because again, there are polarizing opinions about that, right? Like someone say, "Hey, that's great! It's popularizing crypto art. Let's bring more and more popular artists." On the other hand, they say, yeah, because of those, you don't see real ones who are, doing the real work for a long, long time, and they become less recognizable because of that influx of this. Where on this scale you are? Are you more on a gimmick side, and are you more on a let's bring everybody in?
I would say I'm more on the side of let's bring everybody in. I think, if anything, it's good for exposure overall. I try to see it more in the positive side. It is kind of annoying sometimes to just read about like who's the next, NFT creator, celebrity, whatever, but again, I think that will die off as well eventually.
The celebrity, you think the market will get? Do you think that it will die off because the market will get oversaturated, or do you think it will die off because celebrities will lose interest into that?
I would say both. Okay. Oversaturation and lack of interest.
Okay, yeah. I'm kind of there with you.
But that's that's really my own take on it. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
We'll see what happens in the next 3 months, I suppose, or the next year.
Absolutely. All right. So perhaps let us go and explore. Okay, explore a little bit of a art. Natural, would you guide us, or Marco, would you what is the first piece you want to talk about? And let's all walk in there and just stare into the abysses.
Sure. Well, since we are here right now, we could talk about this one that we are in front of.
This looks awesome.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It's really one of the very first. I guess I could give some context to this whole thing that I call visiones. I can start by explaining how I started creating these images with my phone entirely.
Wow.
And started around late 2014 or so, when I was traveling a lot, and suddenly I started having these ideas, and I was drawing on my phone, and it wasn't like I had an image in mind to begin with. So I kind of was sketching, sort of creating these symmetrical objects, and simultaneously creating many at the same time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And eventually, when I felt like it was the right time, when it was finished, I would put it away in a folder as a PSD file. And then maybe a year later, I would rediscover it and finally complete it and feel like, okay, this piece is born, it's been created, right? Mm-hmm. And so since then, I created quite a collection of these pieces. And this one is very rare with this process. And it was sort of a series of these sort of nature meets digital or mechanical components. And this is sort of an avatar that I imagined and I put together.
Well, I can't wait to see such an avatar in Somnium, like a VR avatar. That would be,
Yeah, this is very fitting, I would say, to this. Absolutely. I didn't have that in mind when I created it. It was, I think I completed this piece in 2014 or so.
Oh wow! And you said on the phone. Which phone do you use? And can you like describe a little bit the process?
Sure. When I started, it was one of my first Android phones with using Sketchbook Mobile.
So you use like a Galaxy Note or which one?
It was an HTC Desire. Was what I started with. I mean, those things are. I still have it somewhere, actually.
Oh wow!
And since then, I was obsessively sort of drawing these pieces, and even though all my whole life I've drawn and painted, and I have other projects. This one I've been particularly working on for the past few years. Not only I have other art projects that I work on as well, but this one, because I have my phone on me most of the time, it's something whenever I can, I create something in increments. So it's sort of it's not created in one sitting. It's not like you would traditionally create an image. You would do a sketch and you would have an idea of what it's going to look like in the end. It's an entirely different process in that sense. And I'm surprised often by what I come up with, and I feel like they end up having a life of their own.
Okay, interesting.
And I surprise myself with my own work.
Creative process, cool. So this image, or like what's the story of the collectors? And by the way, do you know like the statistics of how many of your artworks are already collected in general, in total? Just an interesting question. Like, is it 50 or more than 20 or less than 100?
Well, counting these pieces would be 155 minus, 152. I believe I have 3 or 4 works that are not collected right now.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, and I've actually I've been on hold as far as what I'm going to decide to put out there next.
Cool. Right.
Yeah, I've had some offers. I often have collectors contact me directly and sort of try to make a deal with me as far as like negotiate a price and stuff. And I've been holding off.
Okay. All right. Cool. So before we go upstairs, I'd say just a small announcement. So those who want to ask questions and they're afraid that they will forget it until we finish our discussion, also happens. You know, we're not getting younger. You could type that question into the chat, which is the new feature in Somnium Web, which is on the left bottom. There is a chat and you can type your question and we will come back to that question once we finish our discussion about the art. And I guess we can go upstairs, right? Natural, can you guide us there?
Yeah, perfect. Let's go to the 4th floor.
4th floor, all right, that would be a walk. All right. Physical digital spaces. So this was floor number 1.
Yeah.
Let's go to floor number 2. be a great view out of there for number 3. And one more. And here we are. Nice. This is it, right, Natural? This is the floor. Okay, let's wait for others to... Okay, Marco, you're here. Fantastic. So, which piece? I mean, they're so beautiful. By the way, it's like, okay, what are the prices generally we're talking about? Like, if we talk about pieces, and I think we can discuss like which piece do we start with? Please choose this one behind you, Marco. The M-Flower 2XC43.
Sure, absolutely. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear well.
Okay. Just having a bit of an issue there. Where am I? There I am. Okay. Sure, yeah. This piece, which I... Just looking at some of my notes on this. Okay. Check.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So I created a few of these pieces around 2018, I believe. It was sort of a series of portraits and sort of botanical organisms, I like to call them.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as
what it takes to buy one of those, like just pricing wise? I know like artists generally don't like to speak about the price, but as collectors, sometimes we have to. So what is like, if we talk about this piece, what's the price? What is the range maybe, or like, because people might click and bid on it.
Sure, I would be happy somewhere in the range of 1.5 ETH.
Mm-hmm. And this is one of one, I assume, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool. Fantastic. I mean, I like the colors, and I like the kind of, like, I don't know how to describe it even, like the cleanliness of this. It looks symmetrical, clean. I'm a very big symmetrical guy, so like, if something is symmetrical, which I assume from what I see this is, then it's very pleasing to my eyes for sure. All right, do you have anything else to add for this piece, or we move to the next one, which is right next to this?
We could move to the next one. I like I mentioned, I have some other versions related to this piece, which I will eventually put out there. I haven't decided yet, but they all have sort of the same color palette, and they're all related. So it's kind of like a puzzle. When you look at more of my pieces, you get a better understanding of where they're going.
All right.
And somehow I'm having issues with my camera.
That's fine. I mean, we can hear you well. Of course,
okay.
Seeing the TV head is amazing, but
yeah, that is fun. I like that.
Not mandatory, but okay, let's move to this one. And by the way, everybody else, if you want to turn on your TV cameras, let's do it. Just press the webcam on the top right next to the microphone button. Let's see your faces. Show us your true you and wave at us through the cameras if you wish so. Other than that, let's then talk about this piece, which is called 111142023.3. Okay, first question. What that means?
What does that mean? Sure. Like I mentioned, it's because all these images on my phone, and when they're completed, they have a number, a file number, and that's how I catalog my pieces.
All right.
And so this one in particular is a figure, and I decided to name it that because it was fitting, as well as being the name that corresponding name to that file. So if I ever wanted to get back to it, I could find it. And this piece is a newer piece. It's a newer process that I've been working with since somewhere around late 2019. Late 2018, sorry. I started creating my illustrations in a component-to-component basis. Mm-hmm. What that means is that each piece could be broken up by every piece, that every element that you see in it, every color, mm-hmm. could actually be taken off of it, changed into a variety of versions of itself. So I could recreate the same image with the same components in different colors, maybe layered differently, and it would look like a totally different image. And what I also do is I save these components in a transparent PNG format. Mm-hmm. And then whenever I get a chance, I scramble them. So every month I create hundreds of these tiny illustrations. And I'm always looking for a good way to scramble them as much as possible. And then the result is I have this folder with a random selection of components, mm-hmm. that I then just select component by component, determining each layer of the next image. And the results are amazing. I've come up with so many pieces that way, awesome. That I will eventually share.
Okay, all right. I mean, I'm still fascinated by like you saying that you created all of that on the phone. Like, I think one of the pieces you should tokenize is like you drawing on the phone and recording the phone screen, and then just showing the process of things like this being created on the phone. Because like when people say, you know, like, oh, I cannot become an artist, I don't have enough tools or things like this, you know, this proves that, hey, don't be lazy. Just take your phone and start. Literally. That's it.
Yes, absolutely. And it's to me, it's part of the charm, because I rediscover my own images that I created many years ago, because I create so many that I just sort of dump them somewhere, and then I rediscover them and I re-edit them, and I'm like, wow, I just blow my own mind.
That's great.
And it's really, there was a time where I really had a lot of time and a lot of art supplies and a nice space to work, and the ideas just didn't come to me. Like this, it's sort of like a collection of ideas and inspiration that I always have access to, basically.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. Sometimes it's like this. Okay, we have time for a few more art pieces to go through, and maybe if we can move here, because that looks very nice. And the name of this is S_shift. Now, do we okay, Nature Warp writes to the chat. This is his favorite corner. Looking great and crisp. So what is this piece about? Like, this looks awesome, man. I can't believe that you'd create this on the phone. Honestly, this is amazing. So
thank you. Again, this is another very early piece, and I created most of it actually on train rides.
Oh, wow.
When I first
blowing my mind, man.
during the time that I'd first been living here in Germany, and I was going to my German course, and I was sort of learning a whole new language and being in an entirely new country. And so it's somewhat quasi a self-portrait, and when I look at it now, I sort of understand what I was feeling at that time.
And what was it? Because I want to really understand a little bit more.
Sure. Well, it's I would say it's about, what is the word?
German language being difficult. I can see some wires from the brains.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
I'm
it's
joking.
absolutely. It's crazy. It's really, I really have a grasp on it now, but it took me some time. I think it has to do with, and the word doesn't come to me, but it has to do with adapting or becoming, oh man, that word, it's lost to me.
Assimilating, right?
Yes, exactly. Assimilating. Thank you.
My pleasure. I know it is, but because I've lived in many countries, in different countries, in Germany as well. So of course, it's always some period of time where you assimilate. Okay, now it makes sense. I mean, like this, honestly, on the phone. Okay, everybody, kick your butt if you don't know how to start and just do something. Because like, if this can be created on the phone, like there's no excuse. That's it. Do you and currently which phones do you use? Like, do you use Galaxy Note, for example, with S Pen, or still you do it?
No, I still do it with my finger.
Are you kidding
Sort
me?
of
Like, is it what?
analog. I zoom in. I currently have a Galaxy A82, and it's a big screen. Still not a very huge screen. I had a tablet for a while, and it was not the same either. Somehow the phone, the size of the phone, has been sort of, in this project alone, has been helping me. I'm starting to work with other tools as well, projects. I'm actually teaching myself Blender and stuff. So eventually might apply some of these smartphone illustrations and collages into sort of something more three-dimensional. I would like to.
Okay, cool, man.
But I also like it's somewhat analog, although they're entirely digitally drawn, but they're made by hand.
Yeah, it's actually pretty interesting. And the user 788470 in the chat asks, "What application do you use?" I think you mentioned it, but like, could you tell a little bit more?
Sure. I mostly use Sketchbook, Autodesk Sketchbook, and I used the first version back in 2010 or so. I had downloaded the first version, and I still use that sometimes. I keep the APK with me because you can't download that one, and it's a very simple version. It's so minimal that I find it way easier to draw on than most modern drawing applications. However, I feel like Autodesk Sketchbook is really great, like the latest version, which I use also all the time. I also use Mirror Lab a lot, and I use it to create a lot of my patterns, my backgrounds, and sort of I take glitched images and I mess with them as well through Mirror Lab. So I would say it's both of those, but I'm always trying out other things, other apps that I find out there.
All right, cool. Yeah, it's awesome. You keep the APK and stuff. And yeah, hi users 308600. Yeah, so I guess we'll be slowly but steadily wrapping things up. If anyone has a question, you can either turn on your microphone and ask, or you can type it into the chat on the bottom left, whatever you prefer. I guess, okay, one more piece. Can we go to one more piece? Because this caught my attention when we were walking up here. So this one, which is known face 216172252. All right, now we know what is the name behind the name, but like, you tell me this is done by hand on the phone again?
Let me see. Are we looking at the same image?
We're looking at the this face, known face
Oh, yes.
2161725
Yes, absolutely. That was a hand-drawn silhouette face profile. And I have several that I've created like this. Also using the same method of taking my components. Even though most of the works that you see here in this gallery are symmetrical, I do make a lot of asymmetrical works as well. And I've been trying to put those out there as well whenever I can, but
Okay.
it takes time.
Okay, and Natural Warp asks, why did you decide to tokenize most of your work as the PNG with a transparent alpha layer? I actually like it. But what's the reason behind it? That's actually a good question.
Sure. That actually goes back to when I first created these pieces and I was putting them out there. I used to put them on Tumblr a lot, and I felt like I was really enjoying the transparent PNGs that were out there, and I feel like they're not tied to a certain background. They're objects in themselves, and I almost meticulously or obsessively made my pieces to be versatile to fit any kind of background. Of course, not everyone's going to just take an image of mine and decide what background they want to put it on. But somehow when I finish a piece, I always save it in this format without a background. And even though some I feel better with a certain specific background, I feel like they're meant to be created this way.
Oh yeah,
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, and it looks fantastic in Somnium as well, because you can apply them on walls, and on different shapes and stuff, and that just becomes as natural writing in the chat. Yeah, it's totally a solid setup, so much fun. I agree with that. And for the creators, if you want to put the art on the walls, like I have a gallery, for example. It's much easier to put something like that on the wall and apply some other shapes on it and lighting and stuff, so to make it more interesting. All right, last chance for others to ask questions. If you don't, by the way, hi user 837072 in VR. I love it that you are coming in VR. Fantastic. So if there are no more questions, then I would like to thank you, Marco. It's always fantastic to hear the story of the artist and the perspective on the crypto art scene. I really like the aesthetics of it. I really like some pieces. I hope people can go into this parcel or on your super rare profile. And explore the art, make some bids, and go to this parcel and actually click on things like I do right now and open things in the browser and place some bids. That's my latest words.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Marco. Thank you, Nature, for organizing this amazing building, of course, as always. What an exhibition. For those who want to stay here and hang out with Marco or just explore the forest, please do so. And as I always say, the best way to explore this is in VR. So jump into Somnium VR and go to this parcel in the persistent world and have some fun times with this. So thank you very much. And
thank you.
Let's dive into the metaverse and explore more. And until the next episode, as I always say, see you on the other side of the monitor, everybody. Goodbye. Have a nice
Great. Goodbye. Thank you. Cheers.